he's really he's shameless in intellectual argument. He's absolutely without character, a moral foundation, or even intellectual substance.
Welcome back to Getting Lit.
Oh, you're introing. Okay, let's off you go. You can host Rio.
Hi. How are you? That's really good. We care about you. Thank you. Welcome back to Getting Lit, where we are talking about some shit with a wonderful friend of the podcast, I would say. Hi, Gian. How are you?
Good. How are you guys doing? Delighted to be back in the podcast saddle and in such good company.
We're very happy to have you here.
I'm also excited because, Gian, you're our first Kiwi guest. Kiwi American, I guess, is the technical.
Yeah. Well, good. I mean, it's important. Representation matters, as we all know. So,
and it's Anzac Day tomorrow, so
Oh yeah, this is a beautiful Australian New Zealand unity moment. This podcast and Gallipoli.
Absolutely,
very similar outcomes too.
And we've chosen a very Turkish movie as well. The most his name. What's going on there? I'm jumping ahead. Obviously, we're talking about Vegas, baby. This episode, we call them episodes, sure. Gian, would you like to introduce yourself or end your love for Vegas?
Yeah,
if you don't want to.
Sure. I mean, I'm just a guy these days. I used to be on the grind as part of one half of Twink Revolution. But then I grew a beard and got old and the shoe just didn't fit anymore. So I used to live in San Francisco, don't anymore. But Vegas, was a wonderful escape from the shitty San Francisco weather. It was, I had it down to an art where I could be sort of door to door, like less than 2 hours, like literally leave my house, then be on the ground in Vegas, less than 2 hours. Nice short flight, really cheap. So you could just go on a whim and sometimes be like, I'm just sick of the crappy San Francisco weather and I want to go sit by a pool, have a drink and donate some money to a casino. So I went a lot. Like I want to say I've probably been 40 or 50 times to Vegas, maybe.
Wow. Are you fucking kidding me? Holy shit. Whoa. Amazing.
Yeah, it was my only, like, it was like, at the time, my work situation was such that I was like, I didn't have a lot of time off. So it'd be like, instead of taking grand vacations anywhere meaningful, I'd just be like, fuck it, I'll get on the plane to Vegas.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you used to have a place that you would stay? Because you know how some people, when they regular visitors to Vegas, they've got their hotel. Like, did you have one that was yours? Which was?
Yeah, well, I mean, so that the hotel or casino loyalty programs are such that they would really like to induce you to come back and stay at their like casino group at least. So I would often stay at like Flamingo or the Link or Caesars if the comps were good. And the idea is you don't pay for hotel rooms if you're going with any frequency and losing any money at the casino. So they will pretty much comp you the hotel room as long as you keep coming back and keep being the right kind of sucker.
Yeah, I remember being taken aback because I wasn't there very long. I went there for a few days. I remember being taken aback by the fact that you just have to gamble and people start offering you free stuff. Like, I was just like, holy shit, I love this place. And like, I got free drinks constantly and like the most elaborate drinks you wanted, like anything. So it was so good. That's what made me kind of fall in love with Vegas. And also the sense of it being like an adult playground. Like, I'm not one of these people that hates children, but like the idea of like a playground for adults that is, it's built for adults. It's not, and you can kind of roam around drinking on the streets. It's so great.
Yeah, there's a sense in which it's meant to simulate a kind of like consequence-free environment. Like, it sort of feels very much like there are rules, and there's a whole apparatus lurking just below the surface to enforce those rules. But if you just want to go and have the kind of fun that's on offer, like it sort of feels carefree. Like when you're in a casino, you basically never see security. But believe me, they're there, because if anything ever happens, like they are immediately there. But they keep them kind of off to one side, or they keep them sort of they're just at the security desk, and like, so you kind of get to wander around like, oh, I'm not being watched. There's 1,000 cameras trained on you at any given second, but like it feels very carefree. And that's, yeah, I mean, I totally agree. It's an adult playground. It's kind of affordable luxury too. It is, you get to feel kind of special. Somebody coming and bringing you drinks while you gamble or whatever is a rare thing. Like where the fuck else does that happen? When does anybody bring you drinks in general? Like bring you free drinks? You don't get that anywhere. Maybe it's like, I don't think that happens on planes anymore, does it? That's another victim of the pandemic. But yeah, whereas Vegas, yeah, that's just a normal and expected thing. You can depend on that type of luxury. You deserve it.
As it's very funny because I don't gamble, like very strictly don't gamble, which all power to you if you want to. I can't, but like I want to, like I want to go there and then just have that fun.
No, you will. No, you will, because I don't gamble at all ever, and I was like spending like a drunken sailor when I went to Vegas, because it's this like, because it's so ambient that you're like, oh, I guess I'll gamble. And then you also like, you get your games that you get into as well. Obviously I started with the poker machines because that was very kind of familiar to me, because the pokies are very Australian. But then I really liked blackjack and casino war because they're simple. Like I still don't understand how to play poker. Poker is one of those things where people show me step by step, like what you do. And I just completely just don't get it.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess it's fun and shiny. Like I can't imagine. I think when I was younger and more demure, maybe.
As if you've ever been demure.
Look, as my online persona, you're absolutely right. But and I think like there's the obvious reaction. We're just talking about Las Vegas now, and I wonder if this was like a hangover of like 80s excess, of the intense tackiness and like cheapness and moral corruption of the place. That's all I'd heard about growing up.
I think it's faded glamour. I think is the way I characterize Vegas is sort of tawdriness. It holds on to its own idea of a place where there'd be showgirls, and you would wear a suit to go. Gentlemen would wear suits and ladies wear gowns to go out to dinner or whatever. And like, so there's a sort of weird bygone Americana nostalgia to it, but of course it's now this mass market product that's actually targeted to a whole different demographic. It's much more meant to be a kind of like working class holiday destination. It's much more family friendly than it ever was. Nobody wears, I guess you can wear a suit somewhere or whatever, but like it's just not it's not that place anymore. Yet it still has some of the slightly sad trappings of it. And presumably neon signs were part of that once upon a time.
I wonder if like that kind of transition from those transition phases, like both of the movies that both of the films very very 90s kind of. I wonder if that was part of that, and they're both really interested in kind of the deconstruction of an idea of Las Vegas, and it kind of revealing this brutal underworld. And I think that in the kind of public imagination, these two films really reign supreme in that kind of gross underworld. And I wonder if they had an impact on kind of that transition.
Yeah, so we have talked about Vegas a lot. What I did wanted to address before we talked about Vegas, but it's all right. I like when it gets a bit messy and tacky, much like Vegas. So we've been trying to organize this for ages with Gian, and I think it's been so long that when I kind of first approached you, I think Twinkrev was still a thing.
Probably was, yeah.
Yeah.
We've been like ships in the night several times here.
Yeah. So like I wanted to get like a kind of not an explanation, but like because we really miss it, me and Rio. So we're just like so what happened there? Was it like you just didn't want to do it anymore? What was the deal with Twinkrev's demise?
Yeah. I mean, some of it'll be, you know, in the autobiography. Like
did the feel bucks run out?
Yeah, basically, you know. No, I mean, like the very short answer is we got sick of doing it. There kind of reached a little bit of a like discursive dead end, where I think both of us were feeling like part of a weird perpetual discourse machine where it's like, why the fuck are we even talking about this? Like, and almost we like kept trying to produce episodes, and then the central message of the episode be like, why the fuck are we talking about this? This is stupid. And we're like, oh wait, we're talking about it like to talk about it, and now we're talking about the fact that it's stupid to talk about this. Like, and yeah, just sort of then the pandemic kind of eased, I guess, and like restrictions lifted largely, and we were like, oh wait, there's a world outside, like maybe we're gonna go touch grass, as the kids say. And yeah, so it just honestly wasn't sparking joy anymore, so we discarded it.
Yeah. It's good to go out on a high note too, like before, like you kind of it ground you down into like you really don't want to do it. And I'm giving you ideas here, and I really think you need to come back for this year's Eurovision and do a special one-off Eurovision episode, maybe every year.
I can neither confirm nor deny whether Sam and I will be watching Eurovision in some form where there might be a recording device. Yeah.
Excellent.
We're holding on to our Twink Revolution plushies in
you really have it. Oh, you got the jumbo plushie. I don't think I've ever seen one of those. I got the small pillow. That's great.
I intended to buy the small one, and then I didn't. it was
size queen. But definitely, Dev, I wouldn't say went out on a high note. There was if anybody listens back to some of those like final episodes where we just stopped. There was no farewell. There was no nothing. We just like sounded pretty upset doing it.
I don't think. Well, okay, it didn't come across to me.
Well, we just had a conversation. Well, we just had Sam and I were just like, "Do you feel like recording this week?" Nah, me neither. Okay, and then weeks went by. Same conversation. Should we do an episode? Maybe.
Yeah,
and just didn't.
But see, I think that's actually better than doing like a grand finale sort of thing, and you both not being into it. It would just be sort of like not with a bang, with a whimper sort of thing. So.
Yes, yeah, that's a sitcom finale.
Yeah, sitcom finale, or a soap opera that suddenly gets cancelled. Like
right. Yeah, we were tempted to recast Twink Revolution, just have other people take it over seamlessly, never explain, and just have like the role of Sam will be played by kind of to the soap opera recast idea, which I would love. That idea that would just spontaneously be like, oh, this one actor, like we're going to age them so we can do this story with them. So now they're like 20 years older, different actor. I'd love to that idea. We just recast. Twinkrev.
And then, you're growing your beard again. So like you can come back with a beard and you can be like the long lost cousin or something of Gian.
Right. Yeah, I'm the alien baby's father's second cousin or whatever. So the extended Twinkrev universe.
Yeah. Well, there is a bit of an extended universe, and I think it's been very influential. Like River's doing very well. And I think I found out about Thought Topics from you and Zach Langley Chi-Chi. Like, it has had a bit of an extended universe. So like, I think that's great.
We were lucky to be kind of like gays doing a podcast just before the pandemic, before the great wave of like everyone started a podcast. And so we had our shit down for a good 2 or 3 episodes before that all took off. Got to be elder statesman for a while.
Twink
which conflicts with the idea of a twink, I think. A twink elder statesman. Like.
Yeah, I want to be clear that I was in my 30s when we started a podcast, knowingly called Twink Revolution. It was always a joke. And this is back in the haters online, but I always be like, they're not even twink. It's like, yes, that's the joke is not that we are a twinks doing revolution. That would be self-aggrandizing nonsense. It was always that a revolution of twinks is a very funny concept.
Yes.
That was the whole bit, but yeah, never.
Never. Those people who miss that will be first against the wall.
Right. Yeah. In the glorious Twink Revolution. I mean, it's more just people explain my own jokes back to me. I'm like, good. Glad you got it. Yeah, not twinks. That is funny. Yeah.
Well, anyway, you heard it here first, folks. There may be a Twink Revolution Eurovision something happening.
Yeah, and very clearly, just want to say, definitely maybe, because the odds that Sam and I like the final episode we never did might just be like, oh, do you want to do this, or should we just drink and watch Eurovision? Yeah, we'll just do that. So we'll see.
All right. Okay, so I think that's settled. We've like explored the Twinkrev demise sufficiently. Getting back to Vegas. So I thought, one of the things we've been doing is because reading takes a lot of time and we release episodes every fortnight, we've been doing like movie episodes. So this week we've done 2 movies, and in honor of Gian and his love of Vegas, we have looked at 2 Vegas movies, which I don't know if Rio mentioned them or not, but they are Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and classic Paul Verhoeven Showgirls. So what are our thoughts on Fear and Loathing, first of all?
Go ahead, Ria. I've no thoughts. Empty head.
It's fine. It's just fine. Look, I wonder if I like Showgirls more because it has women in it. Women. I mean, like my history with this film, Fear and Loathing, not to dox my first boyfriend, but his email.
He was Johnny Depp.
He was Johnny Depp, absolutely. What's the quote? I'm not even going to be able to dox him because I can't remember the quote, but it's we've got to get out of here. We're in Bat Country, or whatever it is. That quote.
Can't stop here. This is Bat Country.
Thank you. His I don't want to say the actual email, but think back to the 2000s. Everyone had this email. It was that quote at insert.com. And as a 17-year-old, I was like, I don't, what's this? And he said, it's from this cool movie called Fear and Loathing. And he told me what it was about. And I was like, well, you're a bit of a trashy drug pig as well, so this makes sense. And then I decided to not watch the movie because I don't know. But it has had this like space in my head for 2 years. I was 17 2 years ago. A very long time. And so it was fascinating to finally watch it. Yeah, that's it.
I first watched Fear and Loathing when I was probably a young teenager. I was probably a little, like, I can't even quite do the math on it. I must have been a young teen, and I was not particularly worldly, and so I probably missed a lot of, like, the kind of the significance of the drug stuff going on. And then I rewatched it last night because I had not seen it for many years, and knew it was coming on tonight. And I was like, I should probably actually, return to the source material. I think it's funny; it hasn't aged well, because the central, like, countercultural critique, or the critique of counterculture that's sort of meant to be sitting, within it. It's kind of thumpingly laid on in the movie, with just like the narrator kind of just basically reading from Fear and Loathing. It's like that's a commonly understood critique now. Nobody thinks 60s counterculture is cool anymore. Everybody knows it led to, like, exactly the kind of horrors that it did. But maybe in 1998 that wasn't quite so obvious. So it was maybe becoming more apparent. And then the other funny thing is, I don't know if it's possibly, like, reverse typecast or typecast in reverse chronological order, but I can't unsee Captain Jack Sparrow now in Johnny Depp playing, like, drugged out Hunter S. Thompson or Raoul Duke, whatever his name is. It's he's just doing the exact
sort
same
of like
bit.
Yeah, kind of like noodly arms and, like, wobbling around. Yeah,
it's
bulgy eye.
Johnny Depp in the 90s with, like, a shaved head is just like the attractive, because he's like, Johnny Depp in the 90s is very, very, very pretty, and it just felt like, the nerd girl, like, glasses on and then take the glasses off. It's like your shaved, like, bald head isn't fooling anyone. You're meant to be this gross, disgusting man, and it's not happening.
Great bone structure still shines through.
Even fake male pattern baldness cannot kind of, like, conflict with the bone structure. I hadn't watched it until we decided to. I think I've read excerpts from it in, like, class and stuff years ago, back when I was at uni. So that was, like, long time ago. But I hadn't seen the movie, and the movie, I find it irritating because I find Terry Gilliam as director quite irritating. I like the Monty Python movies, obviously, as that kind of person who likes that sort of thing. And he's made a couple of other okay movies, but generally I just hate his style, because it's this weird kind of combination of the twee and the grotesque, and, like, he thinks he's being he thinks he's like, I'm not like the other girls directors, like, and it's just like, it's his shtick. And I understand that, like, directors, auteurs have their distinctive style, but it's not something I vibe with. I find it really fucking irritating and annoying. Because there's no surprise, you're like, Terry Gilliam's going to do this and he's going to do that. And I know it's about, like, people getting drug fucked in Las Vegas. And there's that critique of the counterculture, and the counterculture being, like, this idea that all these drugs would lead to opening the doors of perception and all that sort of shit. But in the end, it just ends up being, like, nihilism in the 70s in Las Vegas and other places. But, like, can you let up with the Dutch angles, please? Like,
God,
fucking hell.
This did, like, it felt like I was watching a No Doubt music video.
Yep. I mean, well, like, probably were. I mean, the blown out exposure and a lot of scenes as well. I thought the I mean, the source material is strong. I very distinctly remember the first time I went to Vegas was my dad was visiting the U.S. and we drove from L.A. to Vegas. And I hadn't been in the U.S. for that long. I'd flown down to meet him there or whatever. We drove, and we drove through that route and quoted the movie the whole time. I mean, because you have to. Can't stop here. This is backcountry and all these lines, and like even in the kind of grotesque circus themed casino place. That's like there's a bunch of great lines in it. But the actual construction of the movie, it's like, all right, uncomfortable, squirmy drug scene, and like uncomfortably held long shot of him stumbling through something, or Dr. Gonzo like failing to perform a simple task. Then add on some psychedelic animation to sort of really amp up the like, oh, this is what he's seeing. Then cut back to reality for the punchline to be delivered of like, oh, look, he's actually like drooling on the floor, like, you know, like, and it's just that and an endless cycle. It kind of lacks any momentum. There's no progress.
But you know what someone who likes the movie would say to that is like, that's the point, man. Like,
yes.
A series of failed adventures followed up by a series of failed adventures that beget another series of failed adventures. And that's that, dear listeners, is the plot of this movie.
I mean, and good on him, I guess, and that is ridiculous, the book in many ways. But I've got to say there's a line about like Vegas is not a good town for psychedelics. Well, let's go with somebody I know has certainly done many of the drugs mentioned in the movie, and
including adrenochrome.
Yeah, especially adrenochrome. No, and it's I've got to say the sort of the squirmy anxiety of that movie perfectly reflects exactly what I think about trying to do psychedelics in Vegas. I'm like, oh God, I can't imagine anything worse. It's just not the environment for it.
Yeah, well, especially like they talk about acid a lot, so they're clearly doing acid a lot. But I'm like, acid is the last thing I would want to do in Vegas.
Right.
Like I like doing acid at home in the garden and like experiencing like and worshipping the moon and things like that. But Vegas would just be so overwhelming, you know? And I guess that's the point of, what they're talking about. But it's like, why would you do that? But anyway.
Well, and the search for the search for the soul of America or whatever, I can't remember the phrasing of the line, but like the visual gag being that whenever that is sort of mentioned, there's always some completely like desolate, featureless thing going on. It'll be, it's a scene of a sort of, a parking lot or whatever. Or it's one of these like horrible looking casinos. So there's some Terry Gilliam moments that I didn't hate, but I agree on the twee shit being a bit overdone.
Yeah, and the thing that I think, in some ways, this is a movie that is harmed from its fidelity to the original. And I think that one of the reasons why the film, I feel, is a bit messy is that it doesn't that repetition that we were talking about, like it can work in a sort of literary sense, but it just gets sort of like overbearing in a film, I don't know if you guys agree with that. Yeah,
there's no texture. The texture of Hunter S. Thompson's writing is precisely, I think, the what is that line? That the repetition doesn't ruin the prayer. But this is not so much repetition as much as almost like cookie cutter, paint by numbers repetition throughout the movie version. It's like I've seen not just I've seen this scene before, but I've seen this scene constructed in this exact way before too.
Yeah.
I wonder if, because the entire time I was watching, because I watched Showgirls first and then watched this next, and so I was watching this with the view of holding them again to each other. They're like there's a really big masculine energy to this film, trying to kind of, it felt like it was, both films are trying to be very edgy, cut to the core of what this place is about, in very similar ways, except that Showgirls is, exposing a sexual underground and overground, and Fear and Loathing is doing it via drugs, and a very masculine interpretation of this space versus, I don't want to say Showgirls is necessarily feminine, but at least through the eyes of these female relationships, and where Fear and Loathing really failed. I mean, I don't want to say it's explicitly a failure. Like, it's more of an artifact of its time. It's like been done, I guess. It didn't, using the lens of like a drug fucked men in this place, was not to go feminist on you or anything. It didn't expose anything new or interesting about that world. And I feel like that's part of what's aged it. Like I think you said, Matt, like it feels like it feels old. It feels using that lens, like using that lens.
The
yeah.
Sorry, I'm lagging a bit.
That's all right.
See if I'm back.
Yeah, you are.
You guys still hear me? Okay, yeah. Sorry. What I think, it's interesting that like I feel like that the movie Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas has sort of almost nothing to do with Las Vegas. Just because it's sort of, I think Vegas is sort of a stand-in for like, it's a pretty weird place. So you get to sort of do these like set pieces, these visual set pieces for like, well, the drugs are weird and the place is weird and like, ooh,
pink carpet.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so like there's sort of that, but I think it's, it's just meant to be sort of like any town USA in its kind of soulless, fluorescent light, flickering, flat color, and things like, what is it, the district attorneys or the cops convention or whatever, coming to town, or the God, what is the other this completely bizarre like motocross race he's there to cover and things like, as just these sort of like they are set pieces. But I think it's funny if you think about, so Fear and Loathing was done in 98, right? So Trainspotting had come out 2 years earlier, basically doing the same thing, even a lot of the same visual rhythm and style to it, I think.
But in more miserable surroundings, I guess.
Right, and it kind of almost like exposing the place as Glasgow, right, and being like, the sheer misery of the place, sort of reflecting the drug fueled horrors they're visiting them by heroin or whatever, and then like Vegas as a psychedelic place being reflected through the psychedelic drugs is like, okay, yeah, I mean it kind of works, but the Britpop era, having just probably being like really peaked in like 1997 or something, 95, 96, 97. You think about like that nostalgia for kind of the Beatles and all this sort of like British psychedelia starting to like creep in as a sort of nostalgic thing. I think there is something interesting about that cultural critique at that moment of like maybe repudiating some of that nostalgia for the 60s. But it doesn't scam today. I mean, and yet we are, I think, further from that movie than they were from the time, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, and
the movie's 25 years old.
Yeah, and that passage at the end when he talks about Timothy Leary and stuff, like that kind of is the the keystone of the movie in a way, in that it like, but it's a critique that is just so common now, like, you know, and that is linked to sort of generational critiques as well, like about boomers and things like that in the 1960s. And it's also a critique that has been leveled. It was a very common critique at the time, I think, as well, like, or at least popularized by people like Didion and other people like that. So, but it's even more of a thing now, and I think that's the thing that makes it a little bit dated, is the kind of critique itself, such that it is you know, everyone thinks this now.
Right.
Everyone hates hippies now, so.
Right. South Park did all the heavy lifting on that one. Sure.
I mean, yeah. I like the idea of hippies, but the reality just never panned out, did it?
I remember just discovering very, very vividly why you know, being a hippie was not for me, because I kind of dabbled. I went to the Woodford Folk Festival, and you can probably tell what kind of festival this is. It was in the hinterland of the Sunshine Coast, very fucking hot and humid, and I was kind of like, I can't remember what I was on, but I sort of drifted into like a chai tent, and everyone was asleep. It looked like fucking Jonestown. Like everyone was lying on the floor, and like I saw several kind of like women dressed in Hessian sacks with their kids on their tits on the floor, on the dirty kind of floor. And I was like, this culture is not for me. I want no part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was that. So I guess it was, you know, yeah, this came out in 98. 99 was, of course, Woodstock 99. And then New Zealand, there was a festival called, I think, Sweetwater, which was a similar kind of attempt to a kind
Already
of
sounds terrible.
Yeah, exactly. Like a peace-loving, and ended up being a complete shit show because it's, you know, was organized by people who are like argue over patchouli scents and just doing drugs and whatever. Like, yeah, miserable scene. Never held any appeal for me either.
See, I quite like patchouli, so that maybe that's why I kind of got into it. I was like, oh, they like patchouli.
But those
okay.
people are all on Facebook now, like posting in like concerned mothers groups or something.
Yes.
Like,
Recording in progress.
What the fuck did you do, Rio?
that was exciting.
Anyway, keeping that in. Okay, have we said enough about Fear and Loathing? Do we want to move on to Showgirls?
We feared it and we loathed it.
We feared it. We loathed it. We raped its corpse.
Something like that. I mean, I might. I mean, there's a few things that I had to say about Fear and Loathing that I might just save until we've. Sorry for the technical difficulties there. And I might just save until we're talking about Showgirls, just because there's two specific scenes in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas that I have some thoughts and opinions about. Yeah.
Well, okay, so Showgirls is like one of my favorite films, and I selected it not just because of the Vegas connection, but also it's just a great film, and it's a bit of it has been kind of claimed as a camp classic, because it was sort of a bit of a flop when it came out in the cinemas in 94 or 95. I can't remember which. I think it was 95. And kind of flopped, but it kind of got a resurgence on VHS. And the explanation for this is usually that people were like getting it and watching it ironically. And that explanation is it's mostly been gay men who have like carried the torch for Showgirls. And they did like kind of viewing parties, appreciating the kind of fevered gyrations of Naomi Malone, played by Elizabeth Berkley. And so I kind of initially loved this film from that vantage point. But after watching it so many times, I don't necessarily view it as camp, although there are camp elements. I actually genuinely think this is like a classic. This is like a classic film. Like it's not an ironic thing for me. Like I think this film is fucking amazing.
I think the VHS success thing I always thought was interesting because I had also heard that theory, but if you remember how this film was marketed, it was to audiences who have never understood Verhoeven in general, who I absolutely adore everything he's ever done. But like the trailer was cut as like after dark, like post watershed spank bank material. There's like, there's a lot of like perfectly sculpted tits gyrating on a pole, and I think people were buying it to jerk off to it. And then like Verhoeven being Verhoeven, unfortunately, it's all the sex is weird mechanical mannequin sex, and it's completely anti-erotic. So I love the idea of people buying this with the expectation it was going to be, it was marked as an erotic thriller or whatever. They were like, oh, I could, this is less tawdry than buying porn, but I basically that's what I want. Popping the VCR and then finding themselves immersed in a world of just the most flaccid-inducing material you could find. No, you could even crack a semi with that, like throughout this movie, not even once.
I'm angry at myself. I too love Verhoeven. I'm a massive fan. I don't know why. I've definitely lied and told people that I watched and loved this movie because I think I was just like ashamed that I just hadn't sat down to watch it. Because I bought the Blu-ray when I got a physical copy of a movie.
That's awesome. Special edition.
It's got the Japanese cover on the front and then some softcore porn on the back.
Beautiful.
And then inside. It's great.
Well, see, it's even the fact that it has the softcore porn on it. Like, all the marketing is telling you this movie will get your dick hard, and it's a lie. That's the giant prank Verhoeven pulled.
It's unlike Fear and Loathing, it has only gotten better with time, I think. I can't imagine what this would have been like in the 90s, which feels in some ways not that long ago, but in terms of the content of this film, this must have been insane. This must have been absolutely fucking insane to see in the cinema. At a time, before internet and shit.
Holy shit. Need to re-release this on IMAX or something.
Oh my god!
A 3D cinema release. I reckon. I want
THX from the pool scene, like just like the gushing, like just overwhelming you.
Perfect. I smell a vision. I want to smell the sweat.
It's a very
carefully sprayed.
Right. So, sorry. Go, Gian.
Well, no, I was just to contrast the movies. It is interesting, right? Because this sort of is almost just in its construction more interesting because it's a peek behind the curtain in Vegas, right? It's all the action is taking place literally behind the curtain and figuratively, and so I think it's just you're just more immediately drawn into it. If you were to take all the drug stuff out of Fear and Loathing, it's asshole dude checks into a Vegas hotel, explores Vegas, and then goes home. This is not this. This is you don't know what goes on behind the curtain in Vegas. And this is what you don't see. Let me tell you a compelling and interesting story. No, it's fantastic. It definitely has aged well.
Yeah, so the if you haven't seen Showgirls, you need to see it. But basically, it involves Naomi Malone, who, like I said, is played by Elizabeth Berkley, who prior to this was in Saved by the Bell. I think it was Saved by the Bell, which was sort of like a Disney Channel kind of teen show.
He
Very,
is-
very wholesome.
In the legacy of a Hollywood reboot, she is also currently in a show called Save the Bell. Saved by the Bell.
Yeah. So anyway, Nomi Malone, played by Elizabeth Berkley, she comes to Vegas and becomes a stripper, but that's not her intention. Her intention is to become a showgirl in one of the high-rolling casinos. I love Nomi because she's not very bright, and I think she's intentionally presented that way. And what I think is funny about this film is that she isn't much of a dancer either. I think she's Rio's offended.
I disagree.
But I think she's more suited to like gyrating. But what I think is funny, and this is one of the kind of key things I think about the film, which is funny, which is that she just gyrates and is a bit of a like clumsy. She seems klutzy to me when she dances. She doesn't have grace. But everyone talks about how much heat, in scare quotes, she has as a dancer, which I think is so funny. Because I don't think she's a great dancer.
Ooh,
I love to imagine what the script like described her as. I'm like, what is she like? Girl next door sex kitten. It's not what she is.
Yeah, she stomps around the stage. She doesn't glide or like hover or like there's no grace to it. Like she is like a Clydesdale, and that's what's so funny about it, because everyone talks about her like she's this like, oh yeah, she's got so much heat, man. But it's like really she's just, as Crystal Connors says, her rival later in the film, she's really just got great tits, and that's why everyone likes her.
And she sort of does, but this is where I feel like the kind of like the Verhoeven kind of classic thing of like rendering reality so crisply that it becomes sort of hyper real or almost surreal. And if you think about, I don't know how much time you guys spent in strip clubs, but like the clumping around the stage is what you're seeing.
Yeah,
that's not. So that's the thing, is it's like it's totally true to life, and then there's this layer of them all being like, yeah, the heat. Like, what?
Like I may be conflating Elizabeth Berkley with Nomi Malone. I think Elizabeth Berkley is a fucking phenomenal dancer, and to get this role so right in these incredibly complex, it's like playing drunk, right? It's like if it's very hard to play drunk when you're sober to look like you're that kind of I watched an interview with Verhoeven. He called it staccato acting. He instilled in Berkeley, he's like, every movement has to be like this at all moments in time, and she fucking nails it in these like in your high heels, like vampy trashy costumes, and I find it hard to take my eyes away looking at the she nails the heat, and she does it.
What, speaking of the costumes, what we're all gay men here, so which was your favorite? My favorite was the biker one with the tits exposed and the black French boy. That is like that's so good. Yeah,
there's a few good fringe numbers.
Yeah,
it was either that or I think her name's Heather. She's wearing this like lace bodysuit at the end when they're booing the nightclub dance. I was like, I kind of want to wear that. I kind of want to wear that.
So the staccato acting thing there. I mean, it's this is, I feel like, every time audiences encounter like these big budget Verhoeven movies, and just like assume he was trying to make a different movie, and then are like, it's funny, the critical panning. You could still, I bet if we went on Twitter right now and searched Starship Troopers, you would find somebody who has just watched Starship Troopers being like, wow, this is like a weird glorifying fascist violence or something like, we've all seen that 1,000 times. And the same way they would look at Showgirls and say, wow, the acting's really bad. Like, no, it's not bad. It's fucking fantastic acting.
It's amazing.
It's meant to be that way. You have missed the point. So yeah, I've always adored that.
I think because you brought up the central core critique in Fear and Loathing and how that it's not aged necessarily well because like we get it. The kind of core kind of critique, I don't know if that's the right word, of this film, which is the American dream is inherently corrupt and it is a corrupting force in the world. Because Verhoeven builds this rags to riches tale, very kind of classic rags to riches tale, and she gets all she wants in the end, but abandons it. But it's putrid and it's disgusting, and I don't mean that in a sexist, disgusting way. Just it's like inherently rotten from the core, in a way that I don't think anybody in the film recognizes. It still seems very relevant, and that what you're saying about Starship Troopers, about like people not seeing the satire, they can only see like the mask on top of it. It's still that, and I think the satire is far more subtle here than Starship Troopers. When people don't get it in Starship Troopers, I'm like, are you fucking? What the fuck is wrong with you? If people didn't get it on the first watch here, I'd be like, okay, look, it's fine. When you think about it, what actually was going on in this movie?
Well, you're right. It has a total rags to riches structure, and then violent rape.
And then
just like it kind of, and if you think about it, I feel like that's almost the that's just the subverting of the expectations, because it is also it's a movie about sex.
Yeah,
it's sexy.
It's not just violent rape. It's rich white men raping a poor working class black woman.
right. But just so the idea being that the movie is a kind of classic like American sex, right? It's the nice tits out in the biker outfit, right? It's all of that leading up, and it has essentially a structure that is almost pornographic in the classic sense of the word, right? I mean, it's titillating, and it's erotic, and it's working that muscle, and it's working every trope of it perfectly. And then snap, right? It's like, oh fuck, like this is exactly like, it's kind of that's the moment, I think, almost in which you say like, oh wait, maybe all that, like it kind of asks you to reevaluate all the sexiness of the whole thing to that point. They have the conversation over and over again of, what you're doing is basically prostitution, right? And then I don't know. It's sort of there's something interesting about like just the American ideal of sex as portrayed in cinema that is being fucked with in this in the movie. And I think it works well. It's still it rings true today.
And that's that, and I think that goes into what I was saying about before, like with Nomi's gracelessness with dancing transfers into her lovemaking. So she's just sort of like, the pool scene is an excellent example. Like she's just sort of thrashing around like a fucking marlin on a fish hook or something. Like and so, and I guess that goes to what you were saying, Gian, about like, the way that sex is depicted is it's not really sexy. It's kind of like it's a mechanical gyrating act that is kind of just like they uglify it in a way.
Yeah.
Kind of,
That I love. Oh my god, I love that scene. It feels especially like metonymical. I don't know if that's a word. Meta, I guess. It doesn't like doesn't feel like you're watching an accurate representation of what happened. It's so bizarre. It's so starting from her just walking out, plastic skinned, like full bush, pussy out, lips open. They like throw the glasses away in the pool, and she's getting fucking waterboarded.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that's it goes to our point, like about the way that sex is like the way that an American idea of sex is kind of I keep saying critiqued, but I don't want to say that. I want like there's some other word I think.
It's a pastiche almost.
Yeah. So
it's kind of almost a send up.
But the start of that scene, it's actually quite sexy. She sort of slips her dress off and then kind of like waltzes out into the pool. But then the end of that scene is really not sexy.
Well, but also the funny thing about this, it was a big budget movie in the 90s. Full frontal nudity in a major Hollywood movie, still pretty unusual. It was kind of more the reserve of like art house. And so there's almost something. I think there's a moment where that moment is meant to be kind of shocking.
It's kind of funny. If this movie were made today, it would be much. I feel like it would be much more likely to see Carl McLaughlin's cock as opposed to Elizabeth Berkley's.
Well,
yes,
or
that would be the HBO production. Yeah, the Euphoria stunt cock, the most appreciated prop. But I mean, I almost feel like there's sort of a the sex scenes themselves are almost like a placeholder for a sex scene. It's like a prototype of a sex scene. I think your idea there, Rio, is sort of like it being almost an unreliable account of what's happening there, because it's sort of the mechanical nature of it all, and the lightly misted baby oil on skin, the very flat lighting that is sort of throughout. I mean, this is like Verhoeven does this anytime he shows a naked body in any of his movies. You notice this, like the lighting is becomes incredibly sort of like harsh and flat, and the skin is lightly misted, and it sort of renders it like a shopwork dummy or something. It's so bizarre. It's an incredible effect to be like everything about the visual representation of this, the visual sort of grammar of this tells me this is erotic, and yet it's just nothing erotic about it.
And I think okay.
I was going to say Gina Gershon is amazing. But please continue.
so good. So Gina Gershon plays the rival of Nomi in a way. So she plays Crystal Connors, who is the top dog showgirl who Nomi slash love interest. There's a bit of like lesbian exploitation there. Who basically by the end of the film, Nomi has usurped by pushing down the stairs.
The slow motion during the push is just one of my favorite moments of like heightening, because it's already soap opera. It's already soap opera camera work. The camera sort of, if I recall, it's been a little while since I've watched it. But like I remember there's a sort of a swing and maybe a bit of a crash zoom, I think, into the top of the stair, her at the top of the stairs pose as she's walking, and then the push, and then it goes into like shitty handheld digicam slow motion as she goes. It's like that should have been an Oscar right there for both visual effects and best actor.
And Gina Gershon as well, like she has some of the best lines in the film, like you got great tits, they're really beautiful. And you are a whore, darling.
Normalize saying Gina Gershon quotes from Showgirls to your bros. What's this? Sorry. Also, while we're speaking, the supporting cast there, was this Kyle MacLachlan's kind of last like hunky young heartthrob role? I almost feel like it kind of was.
Possibly, yeah.
It may be, and you know what? Like Spider-Man 3 has ruined that haircut. No one can be hunky. No one can be hunky with that.
Who has that haircut in Spider-Man 3?
Toby, when Toby Maguire becomes evil,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Well, Toby Maguire, of course, in Fear and Loathing.
In Fear and Loathing.
Yeah. His wig?
With another interesting hairstyle. But no, I was just thinking, because Kyle MacLachlan kind of just like, for me at least, this is me like dipping back into memory, sort of through his run. I think this was sort of might have been the death knell of his career as a leading man until he like turned up in like
Desperate
Housewives or whatever, as sort of like a daddy, like hot daddy.
Yeah.
I don't really know what he did in between.
Which was my introduction to the Kyle MacLachlan fandom. Not Blue Velvet,
not Twin Peaks or Blue Velvet.
Not this movie. It was Desperate Housewives. He was my daddy.
But didn't he murder someone in that show or something?
Everyone murdered someone in that show.
Yeah.
It's Dynasty, but in the 2000s.
Yeah.
But yeah. It is funny watching this movie though. It is a genuine shame that this film probably ruined or deflated the kind of careers of most of these actors. Kyle MacLachlan may be the only survivor. I don't want to say deflated. Maybe is the wrong word, but
yeah. Well, whose career has ever survived a Paul Verhoeven? I'm trying to think.
Oh yeah, Casper Van Dien. Who was?
God, what's his name? He's in How I Met Your Mother.
Neil Patrick Harris. Yeah, but I feel like he almost had his
Arnie.
He wasn't taken seriously as a sort of actor until after he did Starship Troopers. Like he was that hammy Hitler Youth role or Gestapo role or whatever was sort of like, I feel like almost a bit of a breakthrough for him, but I don't think he did much else for years after.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Which is, and as much as we decry occasionally the atomization of society that and art, like I think due to that, and the drastic lessening of celebrity in our contemporary era. This film can be immensely celebrated artistically, and the kind of performances that these people are given can be seen as valid now.
Yeah, I really like speaking of like line, there are so many great lines from the film, but like in terms of the character actors or like different kind of bit parts and smaller roles, the black guy, the choreographer, when he has two lines which I really, really love. The one is when he's talking about like Penny or whatever, her Heather, or like Heather's her slut name, but I think they don't want to fuck a penny. They and he's dancing with her because Nomi's like gone on to like fame and fortune, but he says something like when kind of Nomi meets up with him later in the film, he's like, she dances like a truck. And I'm like, yeah, so does Nomi. So like, and then later when he's like, I think it's earlier actually, when he's yelling at her, there's some really good social commentary for the time as well, where he's like, man, everybody got AIDS and shit.
Oh my God. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, that line really took me. That was really fascinating. I loved that. To come from a black man. It was interesting.
Yeah, it's him and the girl, and that's it. The only black people in the film.
Yeah, but there's no black people in Fear and Loathing. That's I guess to contrast.
Oh no, there's also the black chick who yells at the kids. She's my hero. I love her. Where she's like, "Shut the fuck up."
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, I suspect Vegas in 1971 was probably not the most friendly place to be black. Yeah.
Or the 90s, apparently.
Well, I mean, I think Showgirls is like, yeah, it's ostensibly sort of set during the '90s, but it's in a timeless
Mm,
netherworld Vegas. I don't think it's not in any like real Vegas.
yeah.
No.
It's like an
So it's
underworld,
kind
and
of
you could, like, if you view it as the underworld, I think like Rio, we were talking about it, like Vegas as this underworld. Like you could even, if you really want to get really wanky, you can like read the mythic elements of it. Like Nomi is Persephone descending into the underworld and then emerging after that.
I mean, the other thing is, and you know, this is, you know, a function of why Verhoeven is such a fascinating, you know, eye on American culture, is that he is like an outsider to the culture. So he is like showing what he perceives, but that Americans would not perceive. Not that like Gilliam is, you know, American, but Hunter S. Thompson very much is. What we didn't say about Fear and Loathing, there's like every actor in Hollywood has a cameo role in that movie. So it is very this movie is from an American perspective movie, or at least, you know, I hate this term, from the global north.
oh, well, it is, and I sort of wonder whether this was the next big Hunter S. Thompson film adaptation after Easy Rider, and I kind of wonder whether it was a bit of a mutual love and a circle jerk of people kind of thinking this would be the next Easy Rider, and it absolutely wasn't. Partially because the source material is not the same, and also because it was made too late in some ways.
Yeah, and didn't Johnny Depp as well like tried to make another Hunter S. Thompson thing, The Rum Diary, I think was the film, and I don't think that went.
Sounds plausible. Never saw it.
Neither did I, but like
I remember when it came out, it looked boring.
Yeah. I suspect nobody did.
Yeah.
Do we think Amber, what's her name? Amber Heard, do you think she watched it?
No.
I'm absolutely sure. I'm sure she probably, I don't know, cut some bizarre like self-cut of the movie showing Johnny Depp to be the rapist that he is.
Like
allegedly.
When Homer goes on the current affairs show, when he's like, sweet can, they edit it. You have Simpsons fans? Yeah, I don't know. So the other thing to say about Showgirls, I think, is the way it ends, like Gian, you mentioned this before, with like the rape and the revenge, and it sort of suddenly turns into a rape revenge film, except like the woman who is raped doesn't get revenge. It's Nomi who does. And she roundhouse kicks the perpetrator, and in doing so, is on full display because she's not wearing any panties. And I'm sure lots of horny men have paused those few frames many times.
I have not.
And this is like Verhoeven, like he has an artistic way of depicting sex. He has just an even more brilliant gift for depicting violence. And the fusion of the two is just perfect. I mean, it's a sublime. It is the Verhoeven cum shot, if you will. It is the moment to pause and appreciate.
Just meditate.
The money shot delivery. It's pussy on display and a roundhouse kick.
Which just comes out of nowhere as well.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's such a, like,
Nomi knows karate now. Like,
yeah. No, it's like it's not a thing anybody has ever done spontaneously in an angry fight, and yet here it is.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah. No, the man's a genius. I will defend him to the death.
Same.
I think like this all kind of like leads to where, like, I was going to say there's an implicit, but actually it's incredibly explicit.
Oh, it's very explicit.
The treatment of rape, like both of these films have, you know, large subplots or, you know, something to say about rape. I have not read Fear, like the book Fear and Loathing is based off of, but I imagine this may be toned down. I don't know. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. When he comes into his friend who is having relations, one might say, with an underage girl who he's drugged up off a plane, and he, they ship her off to a hotel and pretend so that they basically don't get done for, raping a girl. And like, these are our anti-heroes. We're not meant to think they're likable people, but we're at least meant to follow them around. And we're seeing the world from their perspective. It's really easy to turn the movie. It would be just so easy to turn the movie off there. Like, to then contrast that with the kind of rape revenge plot in where rape, it's probably the only thing that is necessarily treated with any sort of dignity at all in Showgirls. It was really bizarre to watch Fear and Loathing and have anything less than complete contempt for the Hunter S. Thompson character, So
that, I mean, it's the Del Toro or whatever, like the Dr. Gonzo. I mean, I almost think that has less to say about rape, statutory or otherwise, there, except because, I mean, the context there, right, is about the relationship, the sort of the beatniks or the hippies to the law. Mm-hmm. And if you even think about how that's constructed, right, he goes straight from the sort of the outer disdain for law enforcement for the was it an anti-drug conference, and it goes directly from, right, the sort of the piggish making out of the cop with his fat wife, and he leaves the conference and goes upstairs to find Dr. Gonzo with him. It's serene, right? It's bathed in white light, and it is he's wearing robes, and it's meant to be Christ-like, and it's meant to be chaste. The idea being that actually nothing untoward is going on here. But then that turns, and Hunter S. Thompson has to be the one to say, no, you don't understand how this will look. It doesn't matter, what you're doing. There's the whole bunch of graphic language in it. He's like, you picked up a girl, you sodomized her in every hole. We can take her out back, and we can make $1,000 a day renting her out to these cops. I guess I think that is meant to be a moment treated more about their fear of the law in some sense, and almost the particulars of what's going on are meant to be, for one, unreliable, but also then kind of peripheral. At least that was my take. It's the horror element of it is meant to be like, this is what would happen to you if the cops find a hippie with a young girl. No matter what is going on, no matter what the facts are.
Yeah.
Yet again, none of these things doesn't scan anymore, right? Because this is now a broadly held belief about police.
I guess I'm the way that the scene is presented in the film, It doesn't scan anymore. Like, it to me. I was like, okay, I get it. When we're making a comment about the police, we're upstairs raping a girl.
It's never made explicit whether they've had any sexual congress whatsoever. They could just be looking at pictures of Barbra Streisand.
That is true. And
I think that's probably somewhat a concession of the movie, given that just when the movie was made. I have read Fear and Loathing, but years and years and years ago. I don't recall if it's more explicit that there's actually like, this is an underage girl he's picked up for sex or not. I think it's, I don't recall, but the movie, I think, it deliberately at least slides right past that question almost to, it doesn't matter, man. You're going down for this either way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, do we have anything more to say about Showgirls?
Go watch it. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. If you have seen it, go watch it again. Go watch it again tonight.
It actually does reward multiple viewings, like, which people probably think I sound ridiculous saying that, but it actually does. Like,
no, it really does.
And yeah, the one thing I would say as well is one of the things that I love and really sets the scene for me is about Nomi, because it is a story. It's her story. Is at the very start of the film where she meets her black friend, who is very much in the trope of the black friend. But so they're having like a burger or something, and she asks her where she's from, and what does she say? What does she say? Different places. And I think this isn't. Yeah, it's a nice connection with Gian, because Gian is from different places.
So Gian is.
Well, I would still eat a burger with you guys.
Oh. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, I just wanted to point out there's one scene in the movie where she's chomping down on a burger on top of the casino.
That is a glittering image. That is.
I just wanted to point out that scene. It's a great shot. That's it.
Yeah. Also, one last question before we go. Are you a Nomi or are you a Crystal?
Ooh, I'm a Crystal.
I'm a Crystal.
I'm obviously a Nomi. I'm really dumb and I stomp around in almost no clothing all the time.
This is true. Well, I know, and Crystal, I think her her degree of self-awareness and being able to say, "I forgive you. I did the same thing." To get where I am, I think that's a model for us all. That's that's the New Testament for me.
Yeah.
I think when Nomi, I think Matt, you and I were talking about this last time we chatted. Where wait, no, sorry, it wasn't you and I. I'm complaining with a friend in my head. You're very similar, but that's fine. I was talking to a friend. It's another Crystal. I was chatting with a friend the other night. This is a friend who I watched Showgirls with. That's why I'm complaining it. And he was like, I love watching stuff like this because I could never do this. I always approach the rabbit's hole and I step back. And that's what's the problem with me. I don't experiment. I'm like, oh, that could not be me. I dive like headfirst into that fucking rabbit hole, break my neck. Unfortunately, I don't die. So I scroll through, fall into fucking Wonderland. And then instead of being like, I'm in a crazy place, I'll be like, okay, where's the next rabbit hole? I've got to go deeper. And when Nomi leaves Las Vegas, there's a big sign of her saying goddess. She's conquered this place, but she's going back into the liminal void of nowhere. I'm saying she's leaving the frying pan, not knowing what's coming next, and she'll probably just find Las Vegas 2. The next frying pan. She will go from frying pan to frying pan her entire life. And,
I think she's going to LA, isn't she? So that's
the best place in the world.
That'll go fine for her.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, same. Honestly, work.
You're going to go to LA. Get on the casting couch.
Yeah.
Get on the casting couch, and they're like, "You've got the role," and you're like, "Role."
I just came here to suck dick. What's going
on? Thank you, Gian.
Thanks, boys. It's been fun. Lovely seeing your lovely faces again.
Yeah, you too.
Gonna go slide back into obscurity now.
Yes.
City gonna set my soul, it's gonna set my soul on fire. Got a whole lot of money that's ready to burn, so get those stakes up high. There's 1,000 pretty women waiting out there. They're all waiting, the devil may care. And I'm just a devil with one to spare. So viva Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas! How I wish that there were more than the 24 hours in the day. Even if I ran out of speed, boy, I wouldn't sleep a minute of the way. Oh, the blackjack and poker and the roulette wheel. I'll put your money lost on every deal. All you need is sonar and the nerves of steel. So viva Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas, where the neon sign